Okay, I'll give you a little more background about me. I'm born in Montreal, but my mother is from India, my father from Iraq. They met in London. They're both Jewish, so she's not an Indian, he's not an Arab. So I have quite a multicultural background. Kenya is my 99th different country that I have visited, and if I choose to stay here, it'll be my 10th country that I live in. Mauritius is where I'm based right now, and that's my 9th country. So basically, when I was about 5 or 6 years old, I saw my future. I made a plan for myself, what I'm going to do. Because I had no money, I had to go sometimes days with no food. I've bought my own clothing, taken care of myself since I'm 12, 13 years old. So starting from zero, I was going to get rich, retire before 30, be a monk, and then teach the balance between the material and the spiritual worlds so that everyone can have a perfectly normal life. A perfectly normal, balanced life, and yet develop what I call the alien within us. Because essentially, if you consider who is doing the thinking, it's not your brain. Because if it was your brain, then it'd be like everybody. We'd all have the same thinking, right? Because our heart is the same in everybody. Our kidney, liver, lungs, it's the same in everybody. Therefore, the brain is the same in everybody. But yet there is a difference in each of our opinions, thoughts, feelings, and so on. So there is something more to us than just the physical organs. So that's the idea of my teaching, is the core of what we actually are. And when you deal with the core, you will succeed in your relationships, in your business, your career, your money, every aspect of life. But if you deal just with the individual aspects of your life, you will always be lacking something because, you know, how do you kill a big tree? All you have to do is poison the roots. Put a little gasoline around it, let that sink into the roots, poison the roots, and the whole tree dies. So it's the same thing with a human being, which we'll get into. But meanwhile, so the beginning here is just welcoming some people who just showed up. Very late, but conveniently exactly as I'm getting started. So that was quite cool, actually. They're 40 minutes late, but they're on the minute for me beginning. So funny how things work. Right, so as you see on the first slide, the idea of my work is about transforming the human being so that you no longer have negative emotions. That's the goal. There's many other aspects as well, but this workshop, this lecture, is about how to never feel manipulated, guilty, insecure, lack of confidence, inferior, how no one can manipulate you. So you will be immune to any fear you have, to insults, attacks, guilt, all of these things, that you become immune to it. We'll get into the cloud, as you mentioned. Rachel, it's my mother's name, so I'll remember your name is Rachel. All of these things, and basically how to become completely confident and free, emotionally free, which means that you are in control of your emotions, nobody else. Because right now, a normal human being, you are like a leaf blowing in the wind emotionally. Events happen, people say things, you get insulted, you feel inferior. Other people are controlling your emotions, your moods. And when your moods change, so do the responses you give, which then alters the results you will get from moment to moment of your life. So this is what today will give you enough to begin a significant change, but my work does go on and on and on. It's not a simple thing, because basically, if I could teach you everything I learned in the last 40 years, 50 years of experiencing life, and I could teach it all to you in 2 hours, you shouldn't listen to me. If it took me that long to teach what I can compress into 2 hours. So this will give you a lot, but the work does continue. And as Kay was saying, my life is about teaching and helping people, so the work just keeps going with anyone who wants to continue learning from me. So let's go into the slides here. Basically, this is what we are. We're all fat, slobby, blubbery things, and that's emotional, psychological, flaws, defects, and so on like that, your traumas and all of that. And we want to get rid of it because underneath all of that is something that is so perfect in its form, but yet we never experience the potential of the human being, not the brain. Everyone knows, okay, we use 5-10% of our brain and we can be so much more, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the essence of the human being for anyone who believes that we're more than just this human body. But you have to do that. You've got to carve yourself away. I just opened the door. I can give you information. You have to make use of it. But the thing that frustrated me as I studied in many different traditions was you get wonderful slogans, wonderful ideas, wonderful concepts, but what do you do with it? It's totally useless if you don't know how to work with it. So it's a very important part of my work that everything has very simple exercises for you to apply what I teach. Now, my work is a lot like a jigsaw puzzle. Each concept, every slide, every aspect is a piece of a jigsaw puzzle that we put together at the end. Well, the end of each lecture, everything I talk about in the lecture comes together. And then each lecture becomes another part of the totality of the human being, okay? So just bear in mind if things seem a little disconnected or something like that, each piece is individual. We must understand each piece of a machine. For example, if you want a car, you need to know about a transmission, an engine, brakes, wheels, shock absorbers, and so on. You must understand every piece to make a complete unit, okay? Right now, I'm just giving you introductions, background, so you'll be able to follow the work I do. And the other thing is, example is just an example. So I will mention things that are examples of things. You have to bear in mind that it's an example to convey a concept, not necessarily to be taken literally, okay? So to have emotional freedom, you must know the cause of emotional pain. And the cause of all your pains, your traumas, your childhood traumas, your emotional traumas, your fears, your inhibitions, everything that is wrong with you in your own opinion, what you think is wrong with you, all your emotional pain, you must know the cause, like the roots of a tree. For example, if there is a forest, what gives life to this forest? You can say, oh, well, the roots. Oh, well, the roots take from the minerals from the soil and the water and the rain. Right, but where does the rain come from? The rain is coming from the ocean that evaporates and forms into clouds, and the clouds fly over. And in some cases, that could be thousands of kilometers away. I think one of you said you studied in the US, so you might know Colorado, the Continental Divide. There's this mountain range thousands of kilometers away from the ocean. Yet those trees get the water from an ocean thousands of kilometers away. So we must know where's the root cause of everything in order to fix it. So the root cause of your emotional pain, all of it, no matter what you think or any psychotherapy tells you, is that you think you're important. You actually think you matter. Well, in fact, you're not that important. You think everything that was done to you. Well, in fact, it wasn't actually done to you. Now, when you understand this point, which we'll go into in detail, you will be free because your actual emotional pain is all self-inflicted, thinking it happened to you. Now, here's my old car. No longer have it, of course. It was destroyed there. It was a T intersection. So I have the right of way with all the other traffic, and then their lineup of traffic waiting to turn in. Now, the fellow who owned that bumper was not sitting there impatiently saying, that's not David, that's not David. Oh, there's David. Boom. He wasn't waiting for me, but it happened to me. That alone, if you could understand that everything in your life that did happen and will happen is not personal about you, but it just so happened you were there at the time it happened. So it didn't happen to you specifically. You were just unlucky. In my case, I was lucky because the insurance paid me more than the car was worth. So that turned out to be good luck. But it didn't happen to you. Now, I'm not trying to get your pity, but a little story that's very important and how I built my understanding. My father hated me, made it very clear, said it very often, and beat me regularly for absolutely no reason. Once I said, "Good morning," whap. Okay. Now, why am I not emotionally damaged? Very simple. I could always see something's wrong with him. He's crazy. It's not about me. But normally, when a child gets beaten, abused, and so on, you think, what did I do wrong? Oh, I'm terrible. Oh, daddy, please love me. I have daddy issues, which TV shows and movies love to portray daddy issues and this. So you're programmed with, oh, I have daddy, mommy issues. They don't love me. I'm no good. No, I thought, he's nuts. Something's wrong with this guy. I didn't do anything wrong. So for some reason, I was born understanding that things happen and it's never about you. But because you want to feel important, I matter, you take it personally. And that is the cause of your emotional pain. All right, now let's get into more of the work and you will understand. Now, by the way, every time I give this lecture to new people, they always are like, no, oh no, that's not right, no. And then by the end of it, they go, oh yes, that's right. So be open-minded to listen to all the concepts, please, and you'll see that it does actually make a lot of sense. Here's just another little thought. If your life is staying the same, insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So if your life goes in patterns, in repeated events, or just not getting where you want it to go because it keeps going in a circle, it's what you're doing. But always remember, you don't do anything without thinking. And when you think, you will get an emotional reaction based on your deformed or malformed personality, which has this ego built on, ego meaning personality, built on, oh, I was hated, he didn't like me, love me, I was a bad person, I'm inferior, I'm worthless, I don't have good self-esteem, I don't deserve it. All these things that are taught to you about your being unworthy for one reason or another are affecting your behavior, which is why your life goes in a circle. So we need to stop that train and change direction. Okay? So now a lot of people study many things, but I'll tell you, as much as you study and you can have 16 PhDs, a donkey with a load of books is still a donkey. Book knowledge doesn't change you. Information doesn't change you. No matter how much you study and you think you know, you don't change by learning more. Now, Buddhism is a concept of negation, which means that we do not add skills, tools, so on. We remove that which is obstructing our vision of our true nature. So if you have a light and there's 100 blankets on it, you can put up the power, increase the light, everything you can. No more light will get through. But you remove the blankets and then the light shines and lights up the room. So the work is really about removing those things which inhibit our life. Okay? And as I say, once we work with the mind, then every aspect of your life changes. All right? Now here's just something to show you what happens to people when they're young. Let's hope this works. Oh, unfortunately. Let's see. Oh, okay. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, here we go. Oh, boy. Somehow by sharing the screen. There you go. Okay. Watch Grandma and Little Baby. Sorry, there's no sound, but you can figure it out. right? You get it. That kid is going to grow up so traumatized. He will eat everything on his plate. And when he's a teenager and he's in love with this lovely girl and she's there so happy and she says, you know, I love my grandmother. I want her to meet you.
Hang on a second. The shared screen has disappeared.
Uh-huh. You mean nobody saw that video?
Did you guys see the video? Oh, no, they didn't.
Okay.
Did you see the previous slide that had a donkey with books? Sorry, my phone is
Yes, I
muted.
saw the donkey.
Cool, thanks. And thank you for the heads up.
Okay, so they didn't get to see that video. Yep. Okay, there it is. Now I hope everyone can see it. You should be able to see it. Now that they know the end result. All right. I certainly hope they're seeing it, but we've lost our moderator. Okay, did everybody see the video now? They didn't see it.
Can you guys see the video? Okay.
They did? If one saw, they all saw.
All right. I think the screen was loading. Is it possible to just replay it one more time?
I can, yes.
Thank you.
Here. Okay. Is everybody seeing it? Good. If you have any questions, you can just, say so. All right. Everyone saw that? Here, if you like. I don't know if there's another chair there or wherever you'd like to be.
Hi, everyone.
Watch your wire. Yep, good. Okay, cool. Okay, so everyone's hot? All right. So this child will grow up traumatized and will never know what happened. So, as I say, he's dating this girl and, oh, it's so wonderful, and she wants him to meet her grandmother because she loves her grandmother. He's going to panic. And he's not going to know why, but because of what happened to him as a little baby. The grandmothers are crazy. And if you don't eat everything, they'll beat you up, right? So this is what's happened to you, everybody. We've had traumas, little events, that we have no idea what happened when we were very young, but that has affected you. These are the distortions in your mind that needs to be corrected, okay? Now, here's a very good saying. It's not what you don't know that gets you in trouble, but it's what you know for certain that is just not true. Now, how many times do you think you've understood that 3-line email, but you only read the first line and you get it wrong? Right? Isn't that frustrating? A little true story. I had one of my students, he owned the house, and one of the other students was renting a room from him. And so the boy did something nice for the girl, the flatmate. And one day he was out, so she bought him a chocolate bar and a Coca-Cola. And she put the chocolate with the note saying, this is something sweet for the sweet thing you did, and I left a Coke in the fridge for you, which she did. She had to go out. He comes home and he says, oh, sends her a text. Thanks for the chocolate. Oh, I see you have a Coke in the fridge. Do you mind if I have it? And she's like, oh, how you couldn't read 2 lines in a note? So she told me, and I said, what happened? He says, well, I read thank you. I saw the chocolate, so I knew what it said. without reading further. So when you are so sure you know something, that's what gets you in trouble, because you stop listening, you stop learning, you stop thinking, you stop seeing. And so we always have to remember that when you think you know, you must doubt yourself and check again if you've really covered all the information accurately, okay? And that's where things go wrong. There's a nice story of a professor, American professor, goes to visit the Zen master in Japan, and he says, I would like to learn Zen. And the master says, of course, please sit down. He says, would you like tea? And the professor says, yes, thank you, I would like some tea. So as the master is preparing the tea, the professor says, well, I studied this, and I have a PhD in that, and I studied this thing and that thing, and I've been here, and I've been there, and he's going on and on and on in, that manner. And the master starts pouring the tea, and the cup fills, and he keeps pouring, and it's overflowing. And the professor says, well, what are you doing? He says, what kind of master are you? Can't you see the cup is full? And the master says, well, this is Zen. If your cup is so full, how can I put anything more into it? Now, when are we at our smartest? When we are babies, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years old. Why? We don't know anything. So we learn everything. Isn't it amazing how babies all over the world can learn any language or multiple languages, depending on what they're exposed to? And then as we get older, it's so hard to learn a new language because our mind is empty. It's not filled with, I know how to speak, or I know this, or I know that. So this is where the idea of being humble is most effective. That when you know you don't know anything, that's when you can learn. I've owned companies, I built from scratch, companies in over 20 industries, from retail store to nuclear energy. I started a company, nuclear waste remediation. It was important enough that the President of the United States had to get involved, a Secretary of Energy, and yet I've only finished high school, grade 11, because I know nothing, so I always learn. So I can do any kind of business. And whatever I do very well, because I never think I know everything or anything. So that's a very important part of your success in life. In relationships, where do arguments come from? You know what I mean. You know what you did. You think, I know what you mean. I know what you intended. And you think you know. And you've noticed that whenever you've had an argument and you're so sure, I know what you really meant, and the other person is saying, no, that's not what I meant. And you go back and forth, right? Everybody's had that kind of argument. Back and forth, thinking you know, or the other one knows, and that. When you know you don't know, and you learn to ask questions rather than think you know, you can never have an argument. Because knowing you don't know, whatever the other person is thinking or whatever, means that you cannot disagree. When you really understand, you cannot argue. You may not agree, but you can't argue. Because you need to understand what the other person thinks. When you understand another person, you can't argue. You can understand. Then you can go forward. So that's where this slide is so important, to always remember any kind of conflict, negative situation, problem in business, in life, in relationship. The problem is that you think you understand, but in fact, you do not. And if you could remind yourself of that, then you start asking rather than telling, and you can solve any problem. Okay? And the idea is fixed emotions are like Medusa to your brain. It turns your brain to a stone. Right? So anytime you have a fixed opinion, you stop learning, you stop growing. So we must always be careful. Have opinions, have what you believe. People always say, oh, you're so fixed in your opinions. Yes, and I'm always open to be shown I'm wrong. I like to be shown I am wrong. I learned something. So you have your opinions and beliefs, but always be ready to instantly change as soon as you are shown you are wrong. It's like driving somewhere. You get lost. As soon as you realize you are lost, you immediately correct. Otherwise, you keep getting lost further and further and further away, right? Okay? So that's a very important thing. Now, let's get more to the meat of our work, of the point of, or the method of attaining emotional freedom. Freedom is accepting and realizing there's nothing real about you. You're born a sponge. The sponge absorbs the water, and now you think you're the water instead of the sponge. Have you ever had a sponge that sits on the counter or somewhere and it starts to stink? Smells pretty bad, right? And you say, oh, the sponge stinks. But it's not the sponge. It's the bacteria in the water that's been sitting in the sponge. And if you rinse out the sponge, then the sponge doesn't smell bad anymore, right? So you're basically, your personality, your thoughts, your opinions, everything about you as you are today is that dirty water. And you have forgotten that you are the sponge that you were when you were born, that absorbed ideas, opinions, culture, language, race, all of these things, that you've absorbed that and you've become stinky. And we can rinse all of that out. Every opinion you have, every belief about yourself or the world, if we can get rid of fixed opinions, you can return to the state of the young child who, by the way, is our happiest time, right? Where are we happiest? When we're like 4 or 5 years old. We don't worry about money. We don't worry about problems, paying bills. We have no fears. We aren't programmed yet. We're curious. So you can get back to that by simply removing fixed opinions. All right? So now, here's something very interesting. Emotions are not emotions. You're very certain that when you have an emotion, that is an emotion. But in fact, what happens for you to have an emotion is something happens, your brain sees, your eyes see, your ears hear, your brain analyzes, and then gives you an emotional response to that event. Is that right? That makes sense? That you cannot immediately, unless it's a baby or cute little baby clothing or shoes. Oh, so cute. Oh, so cute. Yeah, okay, that's a pure emotion. But every emotion you normally have during the course of your life is a response to an intellectual analysis and identification of an event. Does that make sense? Right? So when you say, I'm emotional, no, you're analytical. You say, you pissed me off, or this thing got me feeling angry. No, I saw it, I analyzed it, and then I got angry. So there's a lot of steps. So today we're going to correct that defect. All right? The human personality is subjective consciousness. Our goal is to become objective in how you view everything. Basically, when you see something, you have an opinion of it. But the goal is to see it as it is, not as you imagine it to be. And then the emotions will be appropriate to the situation, right? So something happens, you get angry, and then maybe later on you find out that it was done with good intentions, it was innocent. Okay, I shouldn't have been angry. But it's a bit late, you got angry. But if you could immediately see something as it is, you wouldn't get angry to begin with, right? So this, again, like I said, these are all the pieces of the jigsaw we're putting together first to be able to do the work. It's like learning a new language. I have to teach you a new language so that you can understand how to be free of all your emotional defects. All right? Here's one Mr. Einstein said, curiosity has its own reason for existence. And that's a good saying. Children are curious about everything. Now, why? Because curiosity is interest in things, learning new things. That means exercising your mind. If you're not curious, if you're not always learning, your mind atrophies like any muscle that isn't used. So that's something you need to bring back into your life, a great curiosity for things, learning new things. Always, to keep your mind becoming more flexible, just like a child. We've got to remember what we were like as 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, 1-year-old. Everything, take it, how does it taste? We love food. And then as you grow up, you become a foodie. People love food because we're always looking, what is it? What does it taste like? Can I eat it? And we don't know. We're curious, we're learning. So we need to get back to that state of curiosity, which cannot happen if you're sure you understand. So going back to that, what gets you into trouble is when you think you know for certain, but it's just not true. And that prevents you from learning. The counter to that is being curious about everything. The way to become curious is to be humble enough to accept you don't really know anything. And when you know you don't know anything, you want to learn. Therefore, you're curious. Therefore, you're open-minded. Therefore, you will not have immediate subjective emotional responses to events, which usually get you angry, causing a fight, and making a disaster. Make sense? Following the chain? Okay, cool. Now let's get to really the meat of the work. That was all the preliminary pieces. Okay. You are not really you. You believe you are an African, an Asian, a Caucasian. You believe you're a Christian, a Muslim, a Jew, a Buddhist. You believe you're black, white, green, whatever, a Martian. You can believe anything, whatever you think you are. But that's not really you. And the best way to explain it is using Mr. Trump, Donald Trump, because everybody knows Donald Trump. Now, if Donald were born, same parents, same hospital, his birth is identical, and little baby Donald just came out 1 day old. Except at 1 day old, they took him and sent him to India, and he was adopted by parents in Bombay, in India. Donald would be a total Hindu. He would be a Hindu, huh? He'd be a vegetarian, his head would wobble, his hands would like this, he'd not even English talking. Totally Indian, huh? But he'd be the same body. But he'd be an Indian because of where they grew up, right? So what's real about you is nothing. You are purely formed due to the circumstances of your birth and where you grew up, which means that the sponge absorbed the water, which gives it a particular smell and maybe forms the sponge into a particular shape. But that's not really you. Nothing about you is you. So we've got to get to you, the center, the core of who you really are, in order for you to become the master of your life. Because right now, a normal human being is a complete puppet and slave to events. All right? You know, there are certain things people will say or do, or certain events, which will make you angry, fearful, anxious, whatever it may be, right? If you have no control over your emotions, you're a puppet. You're not a person. You have no free will. You're totally controlled by events. So does that make sense so far? Right? Okay, so if you are totally controlled, how can you expect your life to go the way you want it? It's hit and miss. It's buying a lotto ticket because you're not in control of your life. So if you're not in control of your mind and your emotions, you're not in control of your life. Therefore, the outcome, which means how much money you'll have, how good is your relationship, and so on, is hit and miss. It's a matter of luck. If things work, they work. If they don't, they don't. Because it's a matter of events. Because you have no control. Because you believe you are African or Asian or whatever you are, and you have your opinions, and therefore you deal with your subjective view of what everyone really means, even though they might mean something different. So you see how your life has gone in the circle of the train, and what needs to change in order for your life to go however you want it to go. Look, I'm on my own since I'm 12. I've had no family, no friends, no support, no guidance, no education. I finished grade 11. I was a self-made millionaire by 25, dollar millionaire, not Zimbabwe money. I owned 8 companies that I built from scratch by 28, and I retired. I became a monk for 7 years. I've traveled to 99 countries now. I can't wait to see the 100th. I've lived a life that everyone dreams of. Why? One simple thing. I know I'm not real. I know that everything is a matter of opinion, and that I'm always listening, learning, and knowing that I don't know, which is not the same thing as doubting myself through insecurity, but it is in knowing that I don't know. So I'm always looking, listening, learning. I'll tell you a little story. It's a true story. I was with a friend in Wellington, New Zealand, and we were walking around the town, and we were waiting at a red light to cross the road, and there were 2 young girls, like hippie-looking girls, you know, in front of us. And I'm explaining to her that my work makes you see what others do not see by being awake, by being more open-minded, not thinking you know everything. So it's like there's money on the ground that people walk over and don't see it, but I see it. So I'm explaining this principle to her. Light turns green, the 2 young girls go ahead of us, we start going, and in the middle of the intersection, I stop. So they've all walked. 3 people have walked in front of me, and I stopped. And she looks and says, "Why are you stopping?" And I picked it up, $20. It was so perfect. I'm explaining this, and a minute later, look, 3 of you just, $20 is a fair bit of money. And they all walked over it, and I saw it. That is what you get. You get intelligent, not through increasing your IQ, but by using more of your intellectual capacity to register what your eyes and your senses are always perceiving. Something parents said when I don't have kids, and when I'm visiting people with kids and the kids are screaming and they're just continuing their conversation. And the kids are, I said, "How do you stay focused?" "I've learned to block it out." That's what I hear from parents. I've learned to block them out. And that's why kids go, "Daddy, daddy, daddy, daddy," and incessantly nagging, because daddy's blocked the kid out. So the kid feels, which probably everybody was, feels rejected and ignored. I have a very loud voice. Why? They ignored me. I thought they couldn't hear me, so I talked louder. So you grow up through life. You live in a city. My father, he lives in an apartment almost directly under the flight path from the airport, which is not far. And I said, "Gee, I can't stay here. The jets, so much noise." He says, "What jets?" "And they're passing." I said, "That jet." He says, "I don't hear anything." And he has good hearing. All his senses are still very sharp, but he's blocked it out. Now, if you can block out the sound of sirens and traffic and noise and jets and kids screaming, what else are you blocking out, right? So all of these factors have played into shutting down your senses, which means you have shut down your ability to be aware of what other people are saying, what is going on, opportunities. People say, "Oh, I can't find any business to do." I can't stop seeing businesses. I see 10 ideas a day at least, right? So for those of you who are looking to increase your career, your business opportunities, this is applying very importantly, because opening your mind by knowing you're not really you, so that you can become anybody, helps you open your mind so that you can process the information that your 5 senses are bringing in. Okay. Why don't we do that? Why don't we do that? Because we're programmed, right? Now, here is the cloud. All right. This is my own concept. Now, everybody wants to be a mountain. I'm important. I'm a doctor. I'm a lawyer. I've got 6 PhDs. I'm a father. I'm a mother. I'm important. I matter. The whole New Agey movement in society is telling you, you matter. You're important. I'm a mountain of gold. But the problem is, when a plane flies into a mountain, or somebody wants to take that gold, you get hurt. Everybody dies, right? So is it really powerful to be a mountain? My view is we must become a cloud, because a cloud is the most powerful force in our universe, actually, in our world. Cloud is the most powerful force, not a mountain of gold. Why? Because a cloud can go black enough to blot out the sun. I don't know if you've ever been in a storm that is so intense in the middle of the day, it becomes dark like night, because the cloud can be that black, that dense. A cloud also can be white and puffy. A cloud goes where it wants. A cloud cannot be caught, contained, controlled, created, destroyed, moved. Have you ever tried to push a cloud? Who's more powerful? So that is the point. And now the best part of a cloud, when a plane flies through the cloud, nobody is hurt. Not the plane, the passengers, and not the cloud. A cloud does not block a plane. Even a storm cloud does not block a plane from flying through, or a missile, or a bullet. Nothing can hurt a cloud. And the cloud has entire self-will to do whatever it wants. So, which is better, to be a mountain and demand respect, or to be a cloud and be totally untouchable, which means you have nothing to fear? What controls you? Fear. Fear controls a human being, right? The little baby runs in the road. Oh, darling, don't do that. They run again. Please, sweetheart, don't do that. It's dangerous. Oh, darling, I love you. Don't do that. The kid keeps running, and then the kid runs and you go, puff, don't do that. Whoop, okay. Now I know. Don't go into the road because I'm going to get pain. Fear. A human being is controlled by fear. So if we look at certain old teachings, they control the masses by fear, fear of punishment. So that's the problem with humans, is you're controlled by fear to do what those superior to you want you to do. So you have to know how they're controlling you. That is a mountain of gold. Scared of being robbed, scared of being attacked, overrun. But a cloud has no fear because no one can hurt it. Now, this is the first lecture, introduction lecture to everybody. The lecture after this is about how to become a cloud. Now, today I will teach you ways to become a cloud, but the second lecture is really focused on becoming a cloud, because everybody says, well, how do I become a cloud? Okay, so we made that. But for now, you have to think about, is it better to demand respect, to build the ego, to be commanding, or is it better to be a cloud that everyone looks at, oh, so pretty, that beautiful white puffy cloud, and to be totally untouchable by insults, guilt, manipulation, fear? Because that's power. Because if you can't touch me, I effectively control you. Have you ever tried to punch a ghost, or punch a cloud, or punch something that isn't there? That's frustrating. Imagine, I'm so angry. You get more angry because you're trying to hit it and there's nothing there. So who's really in control? Is the cloud. So you've been chasing the whole thing in the wrong direction, looking to make yourself awesome and amazing, and I demand respect and I am important. Do you know Confucius? Ever heard of Confucius, old Chinese philosopher? Confucius said, rather than demanding respect, make yourself worthy of respect. Make yourself worthy of respect. Now, if I am an arrogant boss, and I say, you do this because I'm the boss, I'm important, you have to do what I say, I'm important, I'm the father, I'm the blah, blah, blah. You're commanding respect. Nobody's going to respect you. But like my companies, I talk to my employees, what do you need? How can I make it more fun to work here? I'll give you double pay. I'll give you bonuses. I'll make the chairs you have to sit on super expensive, comfy chairs. They say, wow, this guy really cares about me. I respect that. Something goes wrong, he doesn't yell at me. He talks to me. He tries to understand how I feel. I come in a bad mood. He doesn't say, shape up so that you do a better job with the customer. He says, what's wrong? What happened? They respect. That's why my business has made so much money. I never had employee theft. Nobody ever quit because they respected me. By being a cloud, I wasn't commanding. You see? And then my businesses grew. So you get respect because you're worthy of it. All right? So the cloud is the aspiration, not the mountain. Now, how do we enforce being a mountain, and why is that the worst thing you can do? Is something you're all going to argue with. Boundaries. Are boundaries good? Everybody says yes, right? Boundaries are very good, very important, right? I'm telling you, this is the worst thing you could ever do. Boundaries are your suicide. Why? Boundaries put you in a bubble. As soon as someone crosses that boundary, the bubble bursts, and now you're... Boundaries are needed to protect the mountain. Clouds don't have boundaries because they're not scared of anything. You can't hurt a cloud. Now, boundaries basically put you in a glass house in an earthquake zone. If you are in the mountain of gold and you have the boundary to protect it, don't you have an army and guards on that boundary in case someone crosses it? When you are telling somebody, you cannot do this, you cannot talk to me that way, think about it, your boundaries, and think about, am I always subtly worried if someone crosses that boundary? And that boundary is a wall that traps you in, and you're always worrying that someone crosses it. And the proof is, if you did not worry about someone crossing your boundary, you wouldn't have a boundary. You wouldn't need it. Right? So, boundaries trap you in. They create fear, anticipation that someone will cross it, and they make you in a perpetual state of worry. But that's just the beginning. The other thing about boundaries is you're playing God, controlling another person. That's the biggest problem with the boundaries, all right? So, one second, just making sure we have everything here. No. Okay, that's in the next. I go into more depth in the next one, but I'm going to include this one right here now. Boundaries are telling other people what to do, correct? Morals are you deciding what you will do. We must have morals, but no boundaries. Because a boundary is telling you cannot talk to me this way, you cannot say those things, you cannot do those things, and so on. That's telling another person what to do. You are playing God. You are controlling another person's life. You don't want anyone controlling your life, but the boundary is telling someone else what they can or cannot do. So you are creating not only the fear that someone will cross the boundary, but you are also creating guilt in yourself because you know that you are playing God, telling another person how they have to live without you really having any right to do that. So every boundary you have creates fear and guilt in you by telling someone else, making the rules over someone else. But a moral is, I will not do that. So, I mean, forgive me for the most blatant example, but because I try to help people get jobs and arrange their life, I'm hearing too many stories of this here in Africa. You're a girl, you apply for a job in a restaurant, in a shop, whatever it is, and yes, you can have the job, but you also have to have sex with me. The boss always is saying, sex is included. It's part of the deal. Now, you're a pretty young girl, you go and apply for a job, and you want to work in the shop, in the restaurant, and the male who's giving you the opportunity, or interviewing you, says, yes, but you have to have sex with me. Now, you have a boundary. That is unacceptable. That is wrong. And you get mad, don't you? You'll get pretty pissed off. How dare you say that? That's wrong. Now you're angry. Okay, you don't get the job, that's for sure. But you're angry, so it's worse. Now, why are you angry? But what if you have no boundaries and you're a cloud? He can say the same thing and you can go, fine, okay, but I have my moral. I'm not doing that. You can take your job. Let someone else take the job. But I'm not going to do it. And you can happily get up and walk out without being angry, without ruining your day, without destroying your mood, and without compromising your morals. So you see the difference. Boundary, telling someone else what they can and cannot do, creates fear and guilt in you. Morals, let everybody be an ass. Let everybody be stupid. Let people be people, whoever they are, but you cannot touch me because I'm a cloud and I will do what I want and not do what I don't want. Another real story, when I was 17, I think, I was an on-the-road salesman for a company in Montreal, and we had machinery which used computers to run the machines, making sewing machine for factories and tabletops. So I come in at 5 o'clock, end of the working day after my rounds, and boss tells me, pack your bag, you have to drive overnight, 9-hour drive to this company in Ontario, take the PC board for the computer, which is broken, because that's for our manufacturing machines, take it there at 8 o'clock in the morning, you give it to the company that made it, they will repair it all day, you can sleep in the hotel all day, and then at the end of the day it'll be ready, you pick it up and you drive again all night to come back here, so 8 o'clock in the morning, we're back in business. And I said, excuse me, no, I have plans. I have a life. I'm not going to drive 9 hours overnight, 2 nights, aside from being dangerous, I might fall asleep. But no, I'm not going to do that. And he says, you have to. You have no choice. I said, really? What are you going to do, fire me? He said, maybe. I said, F you, I quit. And that was the end of that. And he sent somebody else, one of the factory workers, who is earning so little money, he's too scared to lose his job. But I have my self-esteem and I have my morals. You cannot make and control my life. But I very calmly said, you can do what you want. You can say what you want. Doesn't bother me, but then, okay. So I was driving a company car and I was the only salesman. So the next days went, I said, Mitch, tell me, how long do you want me to stay? 1 week, 2 weeks, train someone? What do you want me to do? He says, I'll let you know, I'm thinking about it. Okay. A few days later, he says, I've decided not to let you go. So you see, when you have boundaries, you fight, you destroy relationships because you're emotional. When you have morals and you're strong, you get respect. And that is where your success and people will admire you. By the way, I've learned something. Love doesn't exist as a thing. Love is a byproduct. If you want to have a happy relationship, by the way, choosing who you're going to spend your life with, love is a byproduct of 2 things, admiration and respect. When you admire and respect someone, real love grows and will grow forever. If you're with someone and they're very temperamental and they lose their temper easily, and you say one word and they start screaming and fighting and that, you cannot admire and respect that person. You cannot expect a long, happy life together. But if you're both clouds and you talk and one of you is angry and the other one says, okay, it's not about me. What are you angry about? What's really bothering you? And you talk and communicate. You can admire and respect each other instead of just being mountains, crossing boundaries, and having a fight. So that's how you develop a lasting, loving relationship. Okay? As well as respect in business. Okay? That makes sense so far? Right? So what are 3 boundaries you may have? Anybody have some boundaries to tell me what, so we can break those boundaries? Anybody online have a boundary?
Yeah, they kind of mute themselves. What is the name of this?
Huh? Or question or comment about the boundary thing?
I have a boundary.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, I haven't, like in the past, I've never like kind of like phrased it as a boundary, but I notice that when people do something that I feel a type of way, I kind of like in my head, I'm like, okay, I've categorized you there by, so is that a boundary? Because I don't, like it's when people speak in a certain way, like, which I get offended, it's not kind. So then, I don't know if it's a boundary or a policy for kindness. Like I don't want to interact with people who are being like mean or passive aggressive. So when a person starts kind of like exhibiting those behaviors, I limit my contact with them. So is that a boundary or is that a moral? What's the difference?
Okay, it's very simple. Somebody is rude and nasty, you say, I don't want to deal with you because I don't deal with someone who's rude and nasty and aggressive. Now, the determination if it's a boundary which is self-destructive or a moral is how do you feel? Are you angry? Do you feel, oh, how could they talk like that? I don't like that. Now you're all upset. Now you tell everyone else, this asshole did this and this. Or do you just, like a cloud, float away? Let them be that.
I feel pain. Like I feel pain, but I don't throw it back. I hold it in.
Yeah, but that's even worse. It's like a can of Coca-Cola being shaken. And then have you ever tried shaking a can of Coca-Cola and then opening it? Boom. So when you feel that and you keep it in, you're just waiting to explode, which is something we'll talk about later. But so then it's a boundary. If you have a negative emotional reaction, you have set up a boundary saying, you cannot talk to me that way. You have crossed my boundary. I'm now sending my army to kill you.
I don't.
It's internal. You're feeling that fear, right? Why are there so many nuclear weapons in the world? Nobody's shooting them off, but they've got them because they fear being attacked. And they protect those weapons with fear. So if
It's fear or.
it's a negative emotion.
Because it's not fear. It's more of like how like it's in my head. It's like okay, like how are you talking to me like this and expecting us that we're still gonna be friends? Like.
But do you have a negative emotion? Anger, fear, whatever you want to call it. Is that how you want? Okay, very simple. How do you feel when someone does that? Think of your feeling. Say, is this how I want to feel every moment of every day in my life? If the answer is yes, great. If the answer is no, then you had a boundary, they crossed it, you got angry. And that's why boundaries are bad. But if you're a cloud and you have no boundaries, you can be an ass. You can be whatever you want to be. I give you that right. And you know why I give you that right? Because I want the right to be an ass. I want the right to be saying what I feel. Do you know what my friends used to tell me when I was younger? They said, the reason you can't get a girl is you tell them what you think. I said, but why shouldn't I say what I think? And now older, dating, I'm finding girls want a man who's open and expressive. And then I'm open and expressive and they say, I don't trust you. Why are you so open? It's very frustrating. So,
Mara also has a question.
please.
She says two people have stopped talking to me recently because they got upset with me, my friend and my sister.
Is it worth losing your sister or your friend? I'm not saying you, Maura, but the others, right? You crossed their boundary. Their boundary was imaginary in their own mind. And then you might not have even known about their boundary, but you crossed it. And now they got angry and destroyed the relationship.
And then she adds that I can't remember what my friend's problem was. My sister's problem was I asked her to do something she didn't want to do. Also, guys online, if you'd like to unmute and speak, feel free to. Yeah, but that's the feedback from.
Yeah, you see, this is what happens when you have boundaries. People cross your boundary. How many times have you ever done something totally innocent or even out of love and generosity, and what you got in return was you, and you got attacked for it? Boundaries do this. And the whole bloody world is telling you boundaries are good, boundaries are important. What are they doing to you? Is the world a better place? No. Is your life better? Really? With boundaries? No. You've got all these negative emotions, fears, pains. You lose your relationships. But if your sister and your friend didn't have a boundary, you did whatever it is she didn't like, and she just said, "Ooh, that plane just flew through me." And I might say, "Excuse me, pilot, can you please, why'd you do that? What did you mean to do? Did you want to hurt me?" You talk. That's what morals are. Morals are saying, "I will not do. You have now asked me to do something." The boss says to the girl, "You can have the job, but you have to have sex with me." So the girl can say, "Why do you think that you deserve sex? Why do you think you can manipulate girls this way? Can't you go on a date? Go to Tinder, something, find yourself?" But if you talk that way, you might find you'll get respect. Maybe not in that situation, but in general. So instead of getting angry and cutting someone off because they crossed your boundary, you talk, all right? So now, what you're supposed to do with your sister and your friend, you could tell them to take my workshop, but it's hard to deal with people who have boundaries. So the way it works is when you don't have boundaries, eventually you get what I got when I was in business long-term with one of my companies. People would come to me and say, "David, you know something, and I want to know what that is. Why do you never get angry? Why do you never have problems? Why is every problem you just fix it right away? How do you do that? Why do you have the highest profit margin in this store in the whole of Canada and US in that industry? How do you do that?" It's because being a cloud, we don't create or react mountain to mountain, okay? So that's why boundaries kill you. They trap you, they destroy you. Imagine, that's what they did to Masada. I don't know if you know the history of the Jews. There's a mountain with, there was a fort in Israel. And the Romans, I think it was Romans, I don't remember, I wasn't there at the time. But they trapped the Jews up in the mountain, and what they did is they cut off the food supply so that they starved to death, right? And that's what your boundaries do. They trap you in. You starve to death emotionally. You starve to death emotionally. And now, with your boundaries choking you, building fears that someone will cross, how are you going to fall in love? How are you going to have a nice relationship with anyone if your mind is being built on having fears of boundaries, rules that someone cannot cross? You go on a date, "Oh, no, red flag there, red flag there. He said that word. Oh boy." You say one word and you get in trouble. I got in trouble. I had one friend got angry at me because I called another woman honey. And she said, "Oh, you call her honey, you're in love with her." I said, "Are you kidding? I haven't seen this woman in 2 years. This is one of the charity projects, okay?" And I said, "Well, she calls me honey, I call her honey. In Canada, honey is honey, like honey, honey. There's no meaning to this word. So I don't see a value to the word, but somebody else saw a big value to the word. So therefore, by me using that one word to someone else, totally innocently, without it having any concept of a meaning, that one said I crossed a boundary by using that word to a woman, therefore she's so angry with me, she never wants to talk to me again." Seriously? One word? You didn't ask? You didn't say, "Oh, maybe, what do you mean by that? What's going on?" No asking. You see? So this is why boundaries destroy you. So if you want to have a good relationship in a couple, in work, with your customers, with your employees, with everybody, you must never get angry, but you must ask questions. So no boundaries, so you don't get angry, you are calm. You say, "Why did you fly through me? Why did you do this? Why did you do that? I have no fixed opinions." Remember Medusa? Turning your mind, your soul to a stone. See how all the pieces are coming together now? Okay? All right, let's move on. Now, this is Mr. Shakespeare. Huh? Oh,
I just have one question.
sure.
Is there something like a quality boundary or a positive boundary? Is there something like that?
It's very simple. If you're telling someone else what they can or cannot do, it's bad. If you have your morals where no one can make you do what you do not want to do, that's good. So that's where we have to differentiate what you're calling a positive boundary. Is it a moral? Because as long as you accept your little child, okay, you've got children, you've got to teach them don't steal, don't lie, and so on, right? That's not a boundary. That's a good parent educating your child to be a good human being, okay? But if you're telling another adult, even if it is your child, if they're an adult, what they can or cannot do, you're playing God, controlling another human being's life, and that is flat out wrong. Now, if somebody is a thief and they steal, well, there are laws to say put them in jail. Okay. But we're not talking about this kind of stuff. I'm not talking about physical violence. I'm talking about our normal human life. All right? Our normal life. In your normal life, how often are you faced with violence? Not really much. And then you can deal with that as it comes. But it's just our interactions in our relationships, in our work, in our coworkers, our family, our sister, so on. That's what we're talking about. Because that's 99% of your life. Right? So never make another person do or say anything. Allow everyone free will, which is an illusion, right? What does it say? God made all creatures equal. My grandfather always told me, God made all creatures equal except for man, human. He gave freedom of choice. But how much do you use it? You're being told what to think. So when you tell another person what to think or say or do, you take away their free will. And if you take away my free will, how do you have the right to have free will? You see? So you're fear, guilt, and destroying your self-esteem. Does that make sense? So now you tell me, where's a good boundary? Oops, sorry. Where's a good boundary?
I think a good boundary comes with what informs you. Okay. So the thing is, a good boundary could be informed by what you think is right, and you can extend it to every other person so that they're able to enjoy it, which is the free will now.
Yeah, but a boundary means you're telling someone else what they can or cannot do or say. What you're saying you call a good boundary is, I've got a good idea. Let me share it with you. Do you want it or you don't want it?
So
They have to decide. That's not a boundary. A boundary is a wall saying you cannot cross. You're talking about, I got a brilliant idea. Like I've developed a method of trading on the stock market. I am better than 90% successful trades. I've figured out how to win more than 90% of the trades on the stock market. I've got a great idea. I will teach you. I'll teach anybody who's capable. If you can do it, good. If you can't, you can't. I'm not going to tell you, I taught you this method, now you have to start trading. All right?
What about an example of a boundary? Maybe somebody who's like kind of aggressive and verbally, not so much physically, but verbally.
Okay. Have you ever had a child or a friend or a partner who was very sick with a flu? And they're sneezing. Can you tell him, stop sneezing in front of me? Right.
Okay, you can tell them, but it won't work.
It won't work. Exactly. So let's continue and you'll see why it can't work with a human either, to tell them.
A question. Shall we allow?
Yeah. What about a boundary for myself?
Well, that would be your moral, how you want to live.
Okay.
Yeah, I have boundaries. I do not do anything that I consciously, deliberately know will hurt another person. So you could, that's a discipline, it's a moral, it's how I live. Help as many people as I can, but above all, never hurt anyone. That's another thing I was raised with, and it makes sense. So that's my moral. It's my own conduct. How can I put a boundary on myself? It's my own morals and ethics, yeah? All right, so we'll continue, yes, because I don't want to bore you too long. Remember, animals only attack out of fear and self-preservation. So, okay, what you were saying is when someone is rude and aggressive, where does that come from? Remember my car. Do they want to hurt you? And even if they do, does that come out of just really wanting to hurt you? Is it really personal to hurt you for no other reason? And this we're going to get to now. So just remember that any attack usually comes out of fear and self-preservation. They feel attacked, but the thing is, they may not feel attacked by you. They may feel attacked by something else, someone else. And you are me in my car, just driving when that guy was just so frustrated about sitting for so long, waiting for a chance to get out of that stop sign and get on his way home. All right? So when they're aggressive and abusive, we'll be now touching on that topic, is it really about you or just them venting? So now here's another concept that is, words are important. Words have value. Okay, I understand. You said you had another appointment. All righty. See you later. Thanks for coming. Okay. Words are important, right? Words have meaning. Words have value. Words have power, correct? Everybody thinks that, right along with boundaries. Okay? I say words have absolutely no value whatsoever. Offensive, insulting, intimidating, rude, arrogant. Words themselves have no value. It is how you interpret the words. Si je dis que toi es une grande vache, tu parles pas de français, tu es une grande vache entièrement fou, il pas chance en vie que tu vas être un succès, et ça va, avec un sourire, tout est bon. Aucun problème, oui. Right? Anybody angry? No. But I said, you're a bunch of big fat cows. You're completely crazy, stupid. There's no chance in this world that you will ever be a success. But I say it with a smile, in a language you don't understand, and my words have no value whatsoever. Right? Words mean nothing. They are sounds. You hear that sound, interpret it, give it a meaning, and then intellectually, you come up with your emotional reaction based on your opinion of what you think that person really meant. And then, like the two monks walking on the path, and there's a big, big muddy patch on the path, and there's a beautiful girl in a long dress and nice shoes standing there. And one monk figures out, well, she's trying to think how she can cross without getting dirty. So as they approach, he doesn't say a word. He just picks her up, carries her across, puts her down on the other side. Not a word is said. She goes this way, they go that way, the two monks. Later that night, the other monk explodes. How could you do that? What about your vows? What about your commitment to the path? He said, we are not supposed to look at a woman. You touched her, you carried her. How could you do that? And he said, listen, I put her down back on the road. Why are you still carrying her? That's words. Words give you a thought, give you an emotional reaction to which you keep going. But if you don't know what is really meant with those words, where will your emotional reaction be? So, words are an expression of emotion, right? When I talk, when I abuse you, okay, and I give you shit for the shitty job you did, for making my coffee cold instead of hot. I mean, I'm just because she said about the abuse, right? Not literally her. But when you yell at the person in Art Cafe because they bring you the coffee and it's cold, and you're angry at them, are you really angry at that person? No. You're angry at something else that you vent at that person. So who in this world has no pain aside from me? I get a little bit, but who has no pain? Everybody is suffering. And this is what I taught my employees in my retail stores, is I said, when the customer is angry at you, before you respond, you think, what happened to that person this morning? Did they lose their job? Did the doctor say they have cancer? Did their partner they found out is cheating on them? Do you know? No, you don't know. But if those things happened and you knew that person just found out they have cancer and they yell at you, how would you react? Oh, if I knew that, poor guy, right? And that is reality. Everyone is in pain about something. And when they have those aggressive, abusive words towards you, you need to remember that they're in pain, you don't know about what. And they're venting their pain, and like my BMW, you just happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time that they're venting about you. But when you know for certain that they meant to attack you because you're an important mountain, then you get angry because they crossed your boundary, so you send the army to fight back, and you end up in a fight. You see how it works? But if they are yelling at you and you're a cloud, so you let the words go through, and you aren't Medusa or Medusa-ized, turned to stone with your fixed opinions, and you remember that they're in pain, you receive with compassion. And you said, you know, send all the missiles and jets and planes through me, it can't hurt me. I know you're suffering, and I know what pain feels like because I've done the same thing. So let it out. Come on, give me more. Correct? Now, what will happen when you respond with compassion to someone verbally attacking you? What do you think is going to happen? It's a pretty easy question, isn't it? Eventually, they run out of steam. Because if the cloud is there and the jet goes in circles, going through that jet, through that cloud, eventually the jet runs out of fuel. And he's got to land peacefully somewhere because he has no fuel, so the engines are not working, so he just glides down and lands. And then he says, ooh, what a nice cloud that was. That is power. So power of the cloud is the ability to sustain the attack, verbal attack, to the point where they run out of fuel and realize that all my attacks have been inappropriate, and I was received with compassion and understanding, which is why we're all frustrated, because nobody really understands you, do they? How many people have real, sincere friends that you can say anything and angry and scream and they sit there and hug you? Right? So when you are that person, your relationship, your children, your angry sister, your nasty parents, your coworkers, when you are that person, that is the power that comes with respect and admiration that puts you to be the top of all the mountains. Right? The cloud is way above a mountain, isn't it? So that's how we do it. Now, that makes sense so far? No more questions online?
Any feedback, guys, online? Any thoughts? Any additions? Multiplication, subtraction? Also, guys, over here, like we make sure that everyone speaks. By the way, so actually, maybe I'll maybe let's. Do you benefit from feedback midway?
Well, I mean, not well. Feedback. You have questions. You want to ask something. If something is not clear, it's not my benefit. It's for you. I don't do this for the money, right? Because I'm not getting paid. So I'm doing this to help people. So if you have questions, ask them.
Any questions or any thoughts?
Okay.
Okay, I'd love to hear just your thoughts in terms of how you're processing it, what comes
All right.
to mind. So Moira says no questions.
Okay.
Just if you could kindly indulge, just what's coming to your mind for you. And as you speak, just introduce yourself kindly.
Hi, my name is Gorbachev.
But if you have fears, you will doubt yourself.
Yes.
So that's why boundary creates fear, guilt, and therefore lower self-esteem. Therefore, you doubt yourself. Therefore, you won't be able to stay calm enough to analyze the words objectively. See? So that's why there's all these pieces that we have to change in our life by reevaluating our boundaries, our values, our ways of seeing life.
Thanks, and that's such a cool name, man. Okay, and
Oh yeah, I have to. I want to switch a bit based on what you've said. Oh hi, I'm Kim, and in terms of words have no meaning, the way you've said. In relations to people who don't know me, words don't have a meaning. Whether you call me stupid, but you don't even know me. But if somebody very close to me says you're stupid, then I'll take offense. How would you react to that?
What does the baby think when the parent smacks them for running in the road? Why are you hitting me? Right? The baby is not, or the child is not thinking, oh, I've been bad, and oh, the spanking is actually for my own good to make me learn. Okay? So, when your mother, your father calls you stupid, like my father said, 99%? What's wrong with you? Why you can't get 100? Now, I never scored that. My brother was a genius. He would score 99% on everything. And our father would give him shit. Why you can't get 100? And Michael said, because the computers can't print 3 digits. Which is true. You know, when we get our scores in Quebec, the computers couldn't print 3 digits. So 99 is 100. But why my father, our father, always put us down? Because he believed, if I push you down like a springboard, you will jump much higher. Do you think that when your close people say you're stupid or you're bad? No. You don't think that they actually, in their distorted way of thinking, are actually loving you, thinking that may encourage you to work harder. Because you think you understand those words from that person, and so you have an emotional reaction. But when they say that, like when my father beat me, I could see he's not beating me. He's angry at something in his life. When he stole money from me, he's in desperate need of money, and I'm the easy victim, in his opinion. He wouldn't steal. He was a very honest man, but it's his child. He has the right. Arab mentality. Okay. So, do you think that they love me and they don't know what to do? You see? So you take it in the way you interpreted that word, and you interpreted the emotion that came with that word through your subjective opinion, thinking you understand, and then intellectually you have gotten that analysis and had an emotional reaction based on your intellectual misunderstanding, which is partially due to the parent or whoever not knowing how to express properly, because when they were the child, their parent taught them this. So you are not thinking, see, I see things. When I do something, I think generations from now, what will that do? And when something happens, I think generations back, where did it start? So that's the second lecture, is we get to understand how to think generationally. And then you're irrelevant. And that's how we get to the enlightenment and realization of what you really are, which if you believe you have a soul or energy or spirit or anything like that, that we get to in the next parts. So, meanwhile, we have to get past the thick head. Okay, but does that make sense now? Why you're taking it? Because you don't think openly. Why not? Because you're taught. The other reason why not is because the human's favorite pastime is self-pity. We love self-pity. So words Attacking words are a knife they put on the table. And you pick that knife up and stick it in your own heart. And then, you know why you love self-pity? Because the most important thing for a human being is companionship. And we don't really have that in our world anymore. We don't really have real companions. You know, when my late wife was sick, I happened to be she was in New Zealand at the time, I was in Montreal, I got on a plane that within hours, and I went back to be with her. We don't have those kind of companions. And we need to feel loved. Anybody have babies? What does a baby do? Climbing all over you, hugging me, hold me, right? We need to feel loved. So, you get attacked. You take the knife, you stick it in your heart. And then what do? Like the monk, all day, years from now, you keep that knife going and you say, what my mother did to me. Oh, poor darling, your parents were bad to you. Ooh, what my father did to me. Oh, I feel so bad for you. Come, I'll give you a hug. Oh, what my boss did to me. Oh, I'll take you out to dinner, make you feel better. You're a couple, right? Do you ever do that so he buys you a present? Well, I'm going to get in trouble for that one, huh? Ooh, the way they're laughing, it's true. I hit that nail on the head. Okay.
Okay, what about for you? I'm just sitting through this workshop and I'm processing a lot. What's coming to your mind? What's top of it? What's occurring for you? The part about boundaries, for me it seems like if it's for my own internal compass, then it's okay. But if it's for me preventing someone from doing things, then it's sort of, I'm being a mountain about it.
Yeah.
So I have an example. It's work related. So sometime back, my boss would call me on the weekend. We don't work on the weekend, but he'd call me and then he'd give me some work to do, and I'd do it. But with time, I was like, I can't do that anymore. So if he'd call, I wouldn't pick. And with time, he stopped calling on the weekend.
Yep.
So that me being a mountain still, or just
No, if you're a mountain with a boundary, you'll pick the call and give him shit for calling you.
uh-huh.
Don't call me on the weekend. But a moral is, a cloud is, I don't want to work on the weekend, so, oh, it's boss. Okay, ignore it. If he tells me, why you didn't answer my call? Sorry, the battery was dead. And I had no power. The power was out, the battery was dead, the phone didn't work, I lost the phone, the dog ate the phone, the cat peed on the phone. I mean, yeah.
Oh, that's good. So I feel like you're already a cloud, so you get to affirm. And I didn't get your name. Oh, Crystal. Crystal. Yeah. Wonderful.
Like a crystal she
Just,
sees.
if we can just have maybe like 2 more minutes, and guys online, if you could.
We're almost done, right? Almost finished.
Any immediate thoughts, Rachel, on Joki? Any thoughts? Any feedback?
If I do, I lose the settings here. Okay, but I can.
I'm interested in why is it that I'm interested in this notion of thinking to the next generation. In my community, Akakikuyu, we have very poor transition mechanisms from generation to generation. And it occurs to me that aren't I being controlling if I decide that so my plan for my company is to give it to the employees in an irrevocable trust because that's what's really fair for the company to belong to my employees. And I've just begun to think recently what to do, whether it would have been very nice for my life if my parents had left.
There's some sound that's interfering. There's a sound
You can't hear me. I don't want to be controlling.
Okay.
No, but she has music playing at home, wherever she is.
Or maybe just type in the chat.
No, I mean, she can talk. Just turn off the music that she's playing.
Uh-huh. there's a music class behind. Okay.
Yeah, okay. Music is so
Jackie,
well.
any feedback, and then we'll move on to. And I like that Moira has already asked, said that she's interested to hear about the next generation, which is I think what we're going to. Jockey, any thoughts? Anything coming to you so far? What's on your mind right now? What's occurring?
Okay.
No, it's very clear to me. I get it. I do get it. It's very clear.
Nice. Okay. All right. Wonderful. And then so what Mara has typed in is I think you can see on I don't know if you can see on the chat.
I see it. I see it.
She wants to know how to think generational without being controlling, and the question of does she have the right to tell her children what they should do with their lives? All right. So thank you for that, and thanks everyone for just really participating. And so back to you, David.
Okay. All right. So, oh, you have to turn off your. There we go. Now I get the slides back. All right. Okay. There we go. All right. The generational thinking, how to think that way. Go to a cemetery, look at the gravestones. What are the years of life and death, right? So you start to see, this person lived 100 years, 200, 500 years ago. Think, okay, for me, one thing is Japan, my favorite country, Japan. I've been there 5 times. I've spent much time there. Do you know sakura, cherry blossoms? You might have heard about that. That's a season where the cherry blossoms are in bloom, and it only lasts about a year that they're in full bloom. There are some areas in northern Japan where 200 years ago, the shogun, the lord of the area, planted 2 trees along a pathway 2 kilometers long. So you have 4 trees, 2 on each side of the pathway, and he planted these knowing it'll take 100 years for the trees to grow, and you walk for a couple of kilometers in a tunnel of cherry blossoms, which is truly beautiful, amazing, because the leaves are all, the flower petals are falling. So you're walking through a tunnel of pink flowers, and the petals are falling like snow, and they're on the ground. It's incredible. And the man who did this knew he would never live to see the beauty he's creating. So if you want to think about it, just think of things, when was Beethoven? When was Mozart? When was Da Vinci? When was the world made? What happened 2,000 years ago? Go to see Egypt. And you think, wow, things do continue. Been here for a while. So all I have to do is draw a line from beginning of time, whatever you want, Egypt, wherever, to today. And then so you draw this line and then say, is it going to stop here? Probably not. So it's going to continue. It's inevitable. So you just look logically and you'll realize that things that have been built by people centuries, millennia ago have continued. So what can you do that would continue? Most likely nothing. Because I think aside from Da Vinci and Beethoven and people like that, pretty much whatever we do is going to die off eventually with our death. But you can think that way because it's been thought of in the past. Now, as far as telling your children what to do with their lives, well, that's really God. That's really nasty, arrogant. And I'll tell you one story, again, a true story. I had one of our photo stores where we develop pictures. So it's a photo lab when we used film. And one of my clients was a very old and happy photographer. Now, when he was young, his father was a lawyer, his grandfather was a lawyer. So, of course, he was told to become a lawyer, to continue the firm. And he did. And he became a lawyer. And within a year or something after practicing in the firm, he became so ill he was hospitalized. And the doctor told him that if you don't take 6 to 12 months off work and rest, you will die. So, of course, the family had to agree. And in that time, he took up his hobby of photography because he was bored, and he became very healthy very quickly. So this is what you do when you tell somebody, your child, because you think you're a parent, so you're God, you're arrogant. When you tell your child what they should do with their life, you are totally negating What are their talents? What is their joy? Where is their life, their happiness? And what you're doing is saying, I produced you so that you will be a toy, a puppy, for me to parade around to show people how good I am because I've raised this wonderful adult child. It's a terrible thing. Another one of my students, she was in New York, PA to some big CEO in New York, wonderful husband, all of this. She became depressed, quit the job, divorced the husband, moved to the mountains in Colorado, moved to Denver. And she's lost, doesn't know what to do with her life. So we talk and this. She likes drumming. So I said, well, take up drumming. Are you crazy? You know what my parents would say? Nice Jewish girl, you should have a good corporate job, a nice traditional husband. How can you be a drummer like a hippie? You're crazy? You can't. She says, they would go crazy. I said, okay, well, how about you do it and don't tell them? So that's what she did. And she liked being a clown, you know, nice costumes. So anyhow, cut to the end of the story. This is a little white Jewish girl from New York, became so good at what she was doing with drumming, entertaining older people in hospitals, children, that she was invited, I forget which country, but in Africa, to be a performer and a guest, honored guest at a drumming conference in Africa. I mean, this is the home of drumming. What are you getting this little white Jewish girl from New York to be an honored guest at a drumming conference in Africa? But she became that good, and she got her own television show. But then her parents could find out. You see? So when you tell your child what you think they should do, instead of discovering what they are designed to do, their nature, their talent, you kill them. I have a good friend here. He's very depressed. He's a terribly depressed person. And why? He's 60. He's retired from his big corporate position. And why is he so depressed? Because the guy's an artist. I mean, you get to know him, you can see he's an artist. He's an emotional artist. He's not a corporate guy, but it's a big business family. So they said, you must go to university, get your business degree, work in a big corporation, so on. And it made him super depressed. So do you want your child to be happy, or do you want them to do what you want them to do and depressed? Just ask yourself that question, then you know what to tell your children. All right, we continue? All right, so there's the knife on the table, but human loves self-pity because it gets you the love and attention and companionship and compassion that we all desperately need. Okay, in my nearly 100 countries, a lifetime of exploring the world, which is why I never wanted kids. I knew from young I must understand humans. I must help you understand and solve your problems. You love pity because you get companionship, because every human being from anywhere in the world wants one thing only, companionship. You see that in the baby, and you see that in the old people, right? Everyone knows. Babies and old people. When are you visiting? Come be with me. And the time in the middle, we divert ourselves from that by getting busy with career and business and money and looking good. Now, why do you want to be rich? People will like me. Why do you want to be famous? People will love me. Why do you want to be beautiful? People will love me. Everything you do is so people will love you. So you waste your whole life. You want your children to be successful so people will love you because you raised such a good child. And yet you don't care if you sacrifice the life of that child. So everything is about getting love and attention. And the self-pity and misery is our best way to get it for the very simple reason that if you're great, someone says, how are you? Fantastic. I got money. I'm free, perfect health. Everything is great. They go, wow, lucky you. But if you say, oh, I have this illness. Oh, my parents hate me. Oh, I have no money. Oh, okay, can I help you? And So this person attacked me. My boss treats me like shit. So we love self-pity because it gets us the attention. Now, when you know the reason behind everything happens for a reason. Actually, that's just an excuse to blame your own failure on the universe. So everything happens. There's obviously a reason, because there has to be a cause for everything to happen. But the reason is what you give it. So there's a reason why we like self-pity, to get companionship. Therefore, if the end cause, driving force, is companionship, and that is the first domino that knocks over how to get it self-pity, which knocks over being attacked and abused, which knocks over difficulties in life. Are you not looking for trouble for ultimately getting love and companionship? So you have to think, when you know the pieces of the machine, the dominoes that are falling, you might begin to stop the train going in circles and go off on a different direction. Okay? So it makes sense? All right? And as I said, I just talk. I'm not a teacher as such. I don't believe in coaching. I don't believe in telling you what to do. I can tell you what I know. My life has been devoted to understanding the misery of the human condition, why we suffer, why we fight needlessly. There's a good Arabic joke. What is the difference between a monologue and a dialogue? A monologue is basically one person talking to themselves. A dialogue is two people talking to themselves. Observe arguments. Observe two people in an argument, whether it's you involved or some other two people arguing, and observe and say, is what this person saying what that person is understanding and saying? Are they actually talking about the same thing, or are they talking about two totally different things? That's what I learned from my parents, called oil and water. They didn't ever have an argument that made any sense to me, because they're talking about two totally different things. So, realizing that, then we have to remove our fixed opinions, thinking we know, so we truly understand. Then we don't have arguments. Then we don't have self-pity. And then we'll have companionship and love, right? So we're just about done. Now I give you a couple of exercises. So observe yourself attacking. Whenever you get angry, you're abusive, you even if you don't say it or do anything, if you feel like you want to do it, observe yourself in every angry moment. Because words are empty. Words have no meaning, right? You give it meaning. Problem is, you intellectually stop, or it stops intellectually. Very good thoughts. Makes sense. I like it. Nothing changes. Train goes in circles. Prove it, and it changes. You need to prove to yourself. I always tell my students, don't believe a word I tell you. Don't believe a thing I said. But trust me enough to test it. Prove it to yourself through your own examples. Prove it. Make it real in your life. Then it will change you. So, every time you're angry, aggressive, attacking, anywhere, anybody, anytime, even the politicians on TV, when you watch the news, anything that gets you riled up, and say, is that really what's getting me angry? Or am I angry at something else, and this is just a place I can vent my anger? When the politicians say, we are raising taxes, you get angry at the politician, right? But are you really angry at the politician? Or are you saying, I don't have enough money to pay the rent. I don't have enough money to buy the food. I don't have enough money to buy gifts. I don't have enough money. So I'm angry they're taking more of it. Right? It's true. Makes sense. That's what it is. But instead of just getting angry at the politician and the taxes, why not find a way to make more money? Take responsibility for your life. Okay? So, everything, find the root cause of why you're really angry, and then think about, can I do something instead of just getting angry? You know how to find the best business to do? You want to find the best business, the best job for you? Find what you hate. They all tell you, find what you love, the money will follow, right? Do what you love. No, no, no. Find what you hate. What gets you angry? I can't get a decent loaf of bread in this country. Nobody can make good bread. I'm so angry. In Europe, I get such good bread. I come to Kenya, I can't get decent bread. I'm angry about that. I miss the good bread. Okay, I'll start a bakery. I will make good bread. You see? So you find what gets you angry. I mean, what drove me was, why should I be poor? Why should good people suffer? Why do people get together, they think they love each other, they get married, and they fight? Why are people fighting? That's what I was angry about. Why am I suffering? Why are people suffering? So I figured, okay, I'm suffering, I don't have money, so instead of yelling at my parents, why don't you give me clothing? I went and made money, bought my own shoes. I take responsibility. So this is it. You find what you hate, whatever it is in life that you do not like. And that's like Gandhi. My grandfather knew Gandhi. Gandhi said, I'm a very angry man. I am very angry. But I use my anger to give me the energy to fight the British. And that's how I worked so hard. Because I worked 11 years from 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. without stopping one day for 11 years. New Year's Day, Christmas Day. For 11 years, I never stopped from 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. So all day, all night, I was busy. Never a day, a moment off. How do I have the power to do that? Because I was so angry at my poverty. I was so angry at the limitations of life for me and for other poor people. So I had to find, how can an uneducated person with no background, no money, no friends, nobody to help you, how can I make it? And now that I figured out how, I can teach other people. I got out of prison. Now I can give people That's what drove me to work that hard. Okay? The poverty of the world, my poverty, instead of blame, I said, give me this, gave me. So get angry, get very angry at something that is an injustice, that is not done well. Not angry at the stupid driver who's holding you back, but angry for the injustice of the world of life. And then you will have immense power. Again, the next workshop shows you how to build the power or get back the power of the 4-year-old. Everybody I know who has like little kids, they always say, oh, boundless energy. They have so much energy. And so I figured out, why do they have energy and when you get older you don't? Yes, as you age you lose energy. But the big difference is the kids are not negative emotions, worry about things, self-pity, all the negative emotions you have that drains your energy. Why do I have so much energy? I sleep 3-4 hours and I'm like Energizer Bunny, full of energy. Why? Because I don't have these negative emotions to waste it. All right? So that's angry at things, but we want to get angry for the injustice. That gives you power to achieve things. But if you're a mountain with boundaries, all your energy is contained because of the fear of what will people think, what will they say. I mean, a boundary is so limiting that if you have a boundary, I don't want someone to put me down. I don't want someone to criticize me. I'm scared of being told I might lose my money. I might fail. So even though you don't tell someone, you can't tell me that I will fail, that boundary is in your own mind that prevents you from taking a chance for fear that someone will tell you you will fail. So you see, some boundaries you put in yourself, they stay within you completely. And this is so common. Low self-esteem, fear of what people will think or say about you is an unspoken boundary which prevents you from taking chances. Again, why I succeeded so well. I'll check, okay, if it makes sense, I'll do it. I don't care what it is. I don't have boundaries, limitations for being told I'm wrong or I'll fail. I just go, you stay in your prison and fail. Me, I'm going to be a cloud and free. Which, by the way, I had my own airplane. I learned to fly. So I really like being free. So observe how you attack people. See where it's coming from. Now, why do people hate rich people? We're jealous. You want the money. Well, you think they're bad, they cheat. Usually you're right. But we're scared of being rich because then people will hate you. Everyone says, rich bastards. Is rich, must be a thief, must be cheating people, must be screwing people. That's how they get their money. I wish I was rich. Do you really? So you wish that people will hate you? There's your boundary. By believing rich people are bad, all politicians are bad, whatever it is you want to believe. So how could you ever do that? You think you want it, but you set a boundary that you don't want to be hated, so therefore you'll never achieve that success. See how boundaries are so dangerous. My moral is, and my success is based on my word is perfect. If I say I'll be there at 10, at 5 minutes before 10, I'm there. If I say I will do this, it will be done. My moral is I will not agree or say I will do something unless I guarantee I will do it. So I have no low self-esteem about myself. So I have no fear. So I have courage. So I take chances. You see? So if you say, oh, I want to succeed, but then people will hate me, I don't want to be hated, therefore, subconsciously, I will never succeed. Right? So that's why you must eliminate all boundaries, and you must raise your self-esteem by behaving in a way that you are worthy of respect. Remember about respect? I'm worthy of it because my word is perfect. I've had people give me hundreds of thousands of dollars to hold for them, manage for them, invest for them. They never even ask an email, a piece of paper, nothing. They don't need receipts because it's David. You need to become a person that is that solid, not a mountain, but that, and then you have great self-esteem. Then you're proud of who you are. Then, you see, then you don't need boundaries because I don't worry about you telling me I'm a bad person because I know who I am. There's another good joke I got. This American and Indian, they're arguing. And at one point, the Indian is staying calm. The American's getting very frustrated. And at one point, the American says, who do you think you are? And the Indian says, sir, in India, we don't think who we are. We know who we are. Right? Okay. So observe yourself attacking. Get to know the truth about yourself. Find out where your pain and suffering comes from. And then when someone attacks you, you will know where their attack comes from. And that's how you develop compassion and leaving the knife on the table. By seeing the truth about you, human being. And then, so whenever you feel the fear, conflict, anger, insecure, remember this, always remember, they don't mean to attack me. It's giving you shit. They don't mean to attack me. He's in pain about something. She's in pain about something. I am misinterpreting what is going on. The meek shall inherit the earth. What is meek? Meek means humble. Humble means I don't think I know everything. I am misinterpreting. Because they're coming out of pain. It's not all about me. Okay? Pieces coming together? And then here's an exercise. I'm going to give you now 2 exercises, and then we close with a funny story. Create something of beauty every day. Okay, I'm not religious, but we can say God. Something created this world, right? Okay, whatever it is, cosmic teddy bear, whatever. God, this God, that God, whatever. Something created. Now, what is us? We are, by one form or another, a product of creation. I mean, your parents created you by having sex, which caused the sperm and the egg, which somewhere came from somewhere, right? Everything is a creation. So, our nature, by being created, means we must create, which is a big mistake of a reason to have children. I have to create, okay? But no, we must create something of beauty every day. Why? I'm fulfilling my innate nature that is to create. Otherwise, what are you here for? Worm food after they bury you and the worms eat you? So you become fertilizer in the soil? No, there's got to be a better reason, right? So we're here to create. So your self-esteem will be up and down when you know you are fulfilling your reason for your existence or not. So create something of beauty, art, music, tidy the house, iron your clothes so well, whatever it is. But when I was a Zen monk, the head monk told me, because I was not a good monk, he said, every day, he says, do what you're good at. Some people are good to be monks. Some people are meant to be businessmen or clean streets, whatever. Do whatever you're good at, but every day make someone smile. So when you see someone smiling as opposed to frowning, the smile is beautiful, right? So if you're not an artist, a musician, something like that, where you create something of beauty, make someone smile, because that's beautiful. Especially if they're in a bad mood. So go to the coffee shop, restaurant, whatever. If your server is make them smile. All right? So that is a very important part of feeling proud of who you are, by being productive in creating something of beauty every day. All right? Other exercise. Now, this one is very important to really transform who you are by giving you free will. Make a new habit every month and break one existing habit every month. After 1 month, you don't get rid of it. You keep it. This stays. So and it could be simple. I used to have tea with milk and sugar. Okay, this month, no more sugar. Next month, no more milk. Next month, no more tea. All right? Just as an example, any habit. When I brush my teeth, I now stand on my toes. I feel the sensation of the brush on my teeth. I tap this finger very quickly on the sink, and I'm counting in my head 1, 2, 3, 1 to 10, repeatedly, 1 to 10, very slowly. So I found a way to break the habit of how I brush my teeth. You see, so creating new habits and breaking existing habits is really quite simple. The more you do this, the more you are in control of your mind, therefore your life. Because you're no longer acting as a robot. As we get older, you notice old people get very fixed in their ways. That's because they get their habits for a long time. This is what I need. Then they become like stone. No movement. A child, how long do they keep a habit? 5 seconds? Like this, right? We're changing all the time. So we need to get back to that flexibility so that we can think and learn new things, okay? So every month, 1 habit to break, 1 habit to make, whatever it is. And just keep doing that for the rest of your life. You'll end up becoming quite a perfect person. Because if you can think of all your bad habits, how many do you have? 30? 40? Let's say you have 36 bad habits. In 3 years, you will be a perfect person. You will have no bad habits. 3 years. You think you'll live for 4 years? Maybe from now? Then you'll have 1 great year. If you're going to live for another 40 years, well, you'll have 40 great years. So don't say it's not worth the time or effort. But imagine, list all your bad habits right now and make that list. And then month by month by month by month, right? And you can see now, if I make a list of 42 different habits, I know that in 42 months, I'm going to be an amazing person with no bad habits. Now, what happens if I have no bad habits? If every bad habit is like carrying a 5-kilo weight, and I have 42 bad habits, that means I have 210 kilos I'm carrying. How fast can I move through life? Very slowly. Who's going to win the running race? The one carrying 210 kilos or the one with no weight? So, life is a race. If I get rid of all my bad habits, imagine the power you will have, the amount of energy that is not wasted. So make your list of all your bad habits, and now you can see when you're going to be an incredible person. It's very nice, make it concrete. All right. I never actually thought of that idea before. So this is a new, first time you're hearing the idea of making the list and knowing when you'll be perfect. All right. It's 20 to 1. Normally, we'd say, okay, list some habits, but I'll leave you to that so we can wind up with a true story. In India, a long time ago when I first went, no computers back then, and I was in a small town, and I went to the train station to book a train ticket for the next day. It feels more comfortable. Fellow in his little booth in the train station. Hello, sir, how are you? Very good, very good. Okay. So I'd like to book a ticket for tomorrow to go to Bombay. No, sir, you come tomorrow. Many train, every day there is train, many seats. You come tomorrow, get ticket. No, I would really like to book the ticket. I'll feel better. I'm young. I was 28. My backpack, I don't know what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. No, sir, you come tomorrow. Every day there is train. You come tomorrow, many seat, you get seat tomorrow. No problem, sir, you come tomorrow. But please, I want to buy a ticket. I'll feel better. I'll sleep better. And this, no, sir, you're not to worry. You're not to worry. You come. No need to reserve. Okay, I give up. I go. Tomorrow I come back. I've checked out of this hotel. I booked the next hotel. I got my backpack. I'm there. Same guy. Hello, sir. How are you? Oh, very good. How are you? Oh, very good, sir. Okay. Can I have a ticket to Bombay? No, sir. No train. Excuse me? On this day of the week, there is never train. You come tomorrow. Tomorrow there is train. But on Tuesday, no train. But yesterday you told me there'd be a train. Yes, I told you there would be a train. But on Tuesday, there is never a train. You cannot have ticket. I am very sorry, sir. You come tomorrow, you get ticket. But you told me there would be, and it goes back and forth. I have to go. I need to go. Everything is said. I have to. So it's back and forth. I'm really fuming now. And I said, so why? Why? If you knew there would not be a train today, why did you tell me there would be? I did not want to get you upset. What to do? Some people don't think. One of my students was a photographer. One day his 6-year-old put his cameras in a bucket of water. What are you doing? I want to help Daddy and wash his cameras. What do you do? So also remember this. When someone does something that is not so good, stop and think, do you understand they are real intentions? Is it to hurt you, or is it to help you, to be nice, or their own fear of a conflict? Why? Was it to hurt you? Yes. Why? They're jealous. They feel intimidated. They're scared. Why? Then deal with the cause. Okay. And be careful when you go to India. It's very different now, but you have to be very careful. In India, it is total chaos. Totally chaos. You have to be very, very careful. Crazy country. After you go to India for vacation, you need a vacation. Very bad. What to do? All right. And here is the last slide. Take a picture. Write this down. You know how I say all my exercises, they're in your normal day. They shouldn't take time. Take 5 minutes every night before you go to sleep, and you ask yourself these 6 questions about your day. What did I do well? What did I do that I shouldn't have done? What didn't I do that I should have done? What do I want to do that I could have done better? Did I do anything out of revenge? And what do I want to do tomorrow? So, what did I do well today? My sister called me up, and I always get angry when she calls. I don't know why. I just hear her voice, I get pissed off. But today she called. I didn't get upset. Ooh, that's interesting. I was walking in the street, and the old auntie was carrying the heavy shopping bags, so I helped her. I carried her bags for her. All right. Number 2, what did I do that I should not have done? Well, I was like a robot. I yelled at someone unnecessarily. Okay, but let's use some simple examples. What did I do well today? I had a candy bar, and I had the wrapper, and I went to throw it in the rubbish bin. I held it until I found the rubbish bin, and I threw it in the rubbish bin instead of just throw it on the street. I did that well. That's good. I didn't litter. What did I do that I should not have done? Well, I didn't aim very well, and it fell on the road. So I should have put it in the bin. What didn't I do that I should have done is I should have picked it up from the road and put it in the bin instead of just leaving it on the road. Okay? What did I do that I could have done better? Well, I could have been more attentive to how I threw it instead of just randomly throwing it. All right? It's really simple, these 6 questions. You don't have to list everything you did in the day. You could. But just review your day. Get to know who you really are by reviewing what you ignored during the day. Now, where this really has power is the same way the 2-year-old learns not to run in the road because you gave them a spanking. You are spanking yourself because every night you are going to be called to account for your daily actions. And you will now remember the bad things you did that you tried to ignore so you wouldn't feel guilty. So you have to call yourself to account every night. Now, once you do this for a little while, tomorrow or the next day, before you say something wrongly or do something inappropriate or wrong, I'm about to throw the rubbish on the street. No, I'm going to pay for this tonight when I do the accounting. So I'll put it in my pocket until I find a rubbish bin. You'll find yourself changing in how you interact with people because your subconscious will know that you're going to have to account for yourself. There's a good joke. The Jew and the Catholic are talking, and the Jewish guy says, "You Catholics, you got it all wrong. Every week you go to confession, every week." He says, "We don't do that. We wait until we die, and then we go to heaven, and God lists all of our sins, and then we bargain him down to nothing." So I can say that I'm Jewish, right? Okay. Because I know, yes. Okay. And the worst is a Jewish Indian. Oh boy, are we a tough business person. Because the Indians are really tough business people, and the Jews are, oh, you mix the two. Anyway, in case you ever do business in India. All right. So you do this, and you will start to behave differently. Because you know you will be punished for your sins, so-called, every night. So your subconscious will become more awake during the day. Do you litter? No, never. Okay. Now you're going to start watching yourself during the day, and you're going to see actually you do litter quite a bit. As example, whatever it is you do. I had one student, super integrity, amazing. He worked for the US government. He was running a nuclear weapons plant. And I said to him, he became one of my students and my friend. And I said, "Did you ever steal anything?" "Never in my life. I have perfect integrity." "So you've never taken anything that does not belong to you?" "Absolutely never." Now, I'm very observant. And I saw a pen in his shirt pocket, you know, those office type shirts, and he had a pen there. I said, "What does that pen say on it?" And he said, "Property of US government." Because the US government puts property of US government on everything. So you don't take it home. I said, "Does that belong in the office or coming home with you in your pocket?" It's a small thing. And tomorrow the pen will go back with him probably. But the point is, when you think you never took anything that doesn't belong to you, you may be doing things you don't realize, but your subconscious does. And that subconscious knows that you aren't who you think you are and eats away at your self-esteem little by little by little. And the lower your self-esteem, it's the same as your immune system, physical immune system. My immune system is very low. Not mine, mine is very strong. But if you feel your immune system is very low, then you're scared to meet your friend who has a cold or a flu. Or you need to wear a mask so they don't infect you because you know your immune system is low. So you're scared of being attacked. So you put a boundary, your mask, or another boundary. I'm staying home. I'm scared to go out. You see? And your self-esteem is your psychological immune system. If your self-esteem is low, you're too scared to take a chance, to do anything, to hear what people say about you, because you're too scared of being criticized because self-esteem is low, means you know you're not a good person. So you're scared to live. You're scared to go to events or whatever it is. But if your self-esteem is high, like your immune system is high, is strong, you're not scared of anything. Now you can be you. So now you can be a photographer instead of a lawyer, if that's your nature. You see? So this is where you will build yourself, you'll build your self-esteem because you'll be proud of who you are. You know the truth of who you are, which is going to be shitty, and then you change it. Okay? So there's how you would become more of a cloud, more free, emotionally free to do what you want, say what you feel, no fear of what anything happens, what anyone says. By the way, I'm on the 14th time that I've rebuilt my fortune because I take chances. Things happen. I make mistakes, people cheat, software errors, stockbroker rips off all my money, whatever, things happen. But I keep rebuilding because I'm strong. I know I can do it. I don't give up. So that is power to control your life. So if you want that freedom, that you're not scared of anything, this is the beginning. Now, if you want to go further, we'll do another workshop, more on the exercises, more depth on how to become a cloud. And then there's many, many others. So you can see is my website, davidsamuelcloud.com. It's light on information, but it gives you at least some of the courses. There's much more than that. All is Mind is the best because it's 6 sessions of 2 hours, but that really gives you the depth and fascinating way to understand the human nature and explain things like why do your moods swing, why can't you stay focused sometimes, why can't you make simple decisions, why is it difficult that you get along with certain people, and so on. But anyway, there's a lot of the different workshops, but of course you have my email. You can use this one also, or my WhatsApp number. So you contact, sorry, I use a different email. I still use this one, but write to this one, I'll send you the other one that's better. And then I don't teach as a business. I made my money so that I have enough to live a very comfy life. And I teach because I want people's lives to change. So it's not for me a way to make money, which is a very important bit of advice. Never take the advice of someone who will profit from your loss. So if someone says, I'm going to help you be free, and it's $5,000 for the weekend workshop, don't trust it because they profit too much from you. Okay? So do what you like, but just some advice. If someone takes profit from you, that to help you, then the help cannot be sincere because they need the repeat customer, right? Okay. So that's why I made my work very important. I don't market myself. I go wherever I'm invited. All right. So feel free. Invite me, anything. Ask for more information. Text me, email me to ask your questions about what I've talked about today. And there we go. I'm done.